15 years ago, I basically had no idea what I was doing with my money. Today, my wife and I just recently passed $850,000 in our net worth, as you can see the breakout on the screen here. And the important part is I didn't do this with some like incredible investment strategy. There was no hacks, there was no day trading. I have literally no crypto in my portfolio, anything like that. I've made bad investments over my career. I've saved money very inefficiently. We had a ton of embarrassing debt, about $43,000. But over the 15 years, I kept making a few simple financial decisions, one after the other, and eventually started compounding. And today I've created a process that I help other families go through in my Wealthy Parent program, step by step by step, to get more clarity in their finances and start actually putting their money, their hardworking money, to work. So today I'm gonna be walking you through exactly what we did from where we started to paying off that $43,000 worth of debt and using that momentum to cross $850,000 of net worth, buying our dream home, etc., etc. And for context, guys, I went to school for accounting, and I'm going to be aging myself, but yeah, about 15 years ago, I graduated college with an accounting degree. And at that time, I literally had no idea how to manage my money, right? So in my mind, I'm like, oh, you're this finance guy. You're good with money, like blah blah blah. I had no idea what I was doing in my own personal finances, and it got to a point where I had to draw a line in the sand. It was actually when I was about to buy a car, the car that I currently still have, and I had no idea how much money was in my bank account, and I accidentally didn't have enough to put the deposit down to the dealership of what I told them that I was going to bring. And the day before I went there, I figured this out. I scrambled, somehow scrapped together some extra money from my then girlfriend, who is my now wife, drove away with the car somehow. Like I don't know how that even happened, but on the way home, I was kicking myself. I was so embarrassed. And most people probably drive off the lot with their new car and like they're rolling the windows down, they got the music blasting, they're probably driving a little too fast, they're testing the car out. And me, I was just like miserable the whole time. So it's like, oh my God, like what are you doing? So that was my line in the sand moment. It was like, this is super embarrassing. You've been telling yourself that you're this person who's good with finances and money, but you're not taking the right actions. You have no idea how much is even in your bank account. Like it's literally step one. So that's what I did. I was like, okay, to solve that, what I can do is physically look at my bank account every single day. I'll do it for a month. I ended up doing it for almost 3 months. Okay. So like 75 days. And at that point, I was like, well, this is great and all, but I don't feel like I'm making any progress because I need to kind of take the next step. So that next step was like, all right, is my bank account going up or down every month? Like, where's my money going? Like, what are the categories? So it turned into like tracking and then budgeting. And then I just started aligning my hardworking money towards things that matter to me. And that's when the shift really happened. Instead of just tracking for tracking's sake, and that's what I was doing, I just downloaded this free, terrible budgeting app back in the day. They're much better today. They were horrible, at least the ones that I was trying. But I was essentially just tracking to track. It's great to track. Like, it's a great process to go through and start tracking, but it's like, I'm not making any progress because I was just kind of like looking back, but I wasn't like changing how I was doing things and looking forward. So then I started realigning like what is actually important to me and what is not. And then this shift, quite honestly, at the time I was making something like in the 40s $1,000 a year, like not a lot of money, right? And at the time I kicked my butt about my finances, and then I was like, my career is I'm just coasting. Like, this is embarrassing. You spent all this work to go through, 4 years of college. You have an accounting degree. And to be quite honest with you, I wasn't really using it. It was like an adjacent sort of position. So I drew another line in the sand and I started to really take my career a little more seriously and started looking at jobs that were very far away. I had to commute into a very large city. It was like a 2-hour door-to-door commute every day on a train. And I did that for a couple of years, but my salary increased by a lot and I learned a lot, and it was pretty great. So the lesson here in the beginning was like, I didn't try to 10x everything right away. It just happened from taking one small step at a time. It was literally starting by just looking at my bank account. And then eventually it got to a point where I was like, man, like I could be doing way more with my life, my finances. And I started going all in on just trying to figure out how to improve everything. Guys, real quick, I've opened up some spots in my Wealthy Parent program for busy families looking to get more clarity in their finances, find extra money each month without making more, so that they're able to put more of their hardworking money towards their financial goals and just feel like they're winning with their money. If that sounds interesting, any of that, there's a link below this video to book a call directly with me, and we could start your path to becoming a wealthy parent. I'll see you there. But again, one thing at a time. And then I started getting this extra cash flow because I started realizing like, as I make more money and I have the foundational system in place, now I can actually start putting my money towards other things. And this is the problem that I see a lot of times with the families that I work with. It's like everyone's trying to chase more income. They think like, if I just had that raise, if I just was able to get the side hustle going, if I just sell some stuff in my house and make like $500 extra a month, like everything would work out perfectly. But if there's no foundational system in place, the extra money that we make is going to go to things that aren't going to change our lives because the system isn't there. So once the system is there, then bombs away, let's rock and roll with trying to make more money, because once this thing happens, it just cranks out everything. So I made a lot of mistakes when I first started to, I guess we'll call it, make more money and invest my money, because I still had no idea what I was doing. And I was so obsessed with like the investing area. And I had my 401k going, and that is definitely investing. I think a lot of people forget that. They're like, I haven't started investing yet. And I'm like, don't you have a 401k? They're like, yeah. I'm like, well, that is investing. So congratulations. But I would be so obsessed that I'd be like watching content on the internet from strangers. I would join these like free webinars, and I'm like, oh my God, they're selling the idea of this like one stock. Like I need to know what it is. Like, what is the stock? Tell me. And I'd go through this 45-minute webinar, this pitch where they would just tease this company, this one company that's going to change the world in the next decade, right? You get to the end and they're like, hey, by the way, if you want to know what this one company is, you have to buy our thing, this $199 annual membership to our thing, and we'll tell you. So it's like, oh my God, this is such a scam, right? But eventually I went on like 4 or 5 of them, and I was like, all right, I got to figure out like, so I bought one of these things, and I was like, oh my God. So I bought into one of the stocks. Looking back, I'm just, you can tell I'm just like, it's just like, what are you doing? I never liked the idea. Now looking back, it's like, I was trying to invest in something that I had no idea, I had no clue about. It was so silly. Like people on the internet are just listening to other people, and they're just like, it seems easy. This other person is saying, I make all this money doing this. It seems so easy. Just start this side hustle. Just invest in this thing. But if you have no information, you're going in blind and you're going to fail. You're going to fail. Anyway, so I bought the stocks, right, that they told me, and I bought some other stocks. And this is the first time that I had ever done that. And basically over a 2-week period, I was checking my investments 30 million times a day, and I could not handle the volatility of the ups and the downs. I was like, oh my God, this is so risky, because I put in maybe like $1,000 or something, not a tremendous amount of money, but it was still a lot for me at the time. And it was like, holy crap. So I ended up just selling all of it. I lost a couple $100, whatever. And that's when I was like, I need to find a better way to invest my money, because I know people are doing it out there. I just need to find a way that works better for me. So then I got into index funds and was like, okay, this feels a little better, because now I'm not looking at individual companies. I'm not doing penny stocks or anything like that. I'm not trying to find this like moonshot of a stock, right? I'm just sort of investing in the market, and I did a little bit of research on it for sure. And I was like, okay, these are the ones for me. I'm going to do some index funds. And by the way, I would say in the beginning, it almost doesn't matter what you invest in, as long as my recommendation is it's just like a broader market where there's like a bucket, so like an index fund or an ETF. I would say it almost doesn't matter what you start with. I would rather you just start something. And this is, again, 15 years of just eating shit in my personal finances. And this is me telling you that it's just like, just start. Too many people are on the sidelines and they are overwhelmed with all the information out there. There's so much information. Like, we don't need more information. We need more implementation of what to do. So here, if this is the only takeaway you get from this video, it's just like, start investing something. 1, find cash flow in your finances. Like, use the money that you already have. Realign how you're spending your money, where you're putting your money, so that you can put more towards your future and your family's future. Number two, just do like an hour of research and just take an action. Just invest in something. Don't worry about, expense ratios and optimizing your portfolio and like, oh, what's the spread of this? And like, how do I just invest in one of them, just invest in a thing. And then over time, you'll get a little more aware, and then just start, literally just start. And so as I continue through like my journey, and I'm going to introduce like my wife in a second into the story here, but I basically just was investing a little bit, and I was really doing a lot of things, I would say, inefficiently. So I would just like socking money aside. I literally had money in a savings account, like the least efficient thing. I might as well have just put it under my mattress, right? But again, I was just like doing stuff. I was taking an action. I'd rather. I'm looking back, I'm really glad I just was doing it instead of like getting overwhelmed and trying to optimize. It's the same thing with investing. It's like people are trying to optimize a savings. It's like, just save money, right? At the time, so I saved up to maybe like $40,000. A lot of my early to mid 20s, I was still living at home, which was very helpful, driving to work and everything like that. But then my wife and I, we moved in together, and then obviously our expenses went way up, and it was kind of hard to manage because it was like we were both living at home, and then we moved to a location. So like we kind of stopped putting money towards our financial goals and things like that. But after 2 years of renting, we bought a house with the savings that I had, and we put that as the down payment. And at the time, we were stoked. It was a pretty nice house. It was a good starter house, right? But we were able to do it because I was just like saving money for a while and just not knowing what I would be using it for necessarily. But it was more of just like, and this is going to be a theme throughout my story. It's just like putting money aside without really knowing what the opportunity could be. And I see this a lot like in my personal finance community, or even the parents that I work with really closely in my Wealthy Parent program. They feel like they need to have a specific thing that they're putting the money aside for, and it could be helpful. It is motivating. I always talk about like dangling a carrot out in front of you. Like if it's big enough, like you'll figure out a way to make it happen. But I also think like my wife and I, we've just been rewarded for putting money aside for the next opportunity. And there's going to be way more opportunities that we get in the story, and I'm going to share those as we continue. But like basically at the end of the day, it's just like, just start doing something. And so we bought the house, and again, like our income is going up, but also our expenses are going up. Like at the end of the day, like we fell victim to lifestyle creep, not in a bad way, but like we went from renting to buying, and that just causes more problems. Like our mortgage payment was higher. There's more, like we're in charge of like anything that happens now because we like own the house, right? And so we got to a point where we were starting to have a conversation of like, hey, let's have the kids conversation. And we did like an audit of our life, literally. And we're like, what are some things that could be holding us back from being the best parents that we could be? And the thing that we kept coming back to was like, wow, we had a lot of debt. We had $43,000 worth of debt. And we're like, wow, it'd be pretty amazing to pay this off in time before like our first arrived, right? And so we just went super hard and aggressive because at the time we were just kind of making the minimum payments. And while that's it's not even a strategy. Nope, you know what? Screw it. That's not a strategy. It's just like doing the bare minimum. And doing the bare minimum kind of sucks. And it's like what most people do. It's pretty average. And so I would recommend, like, if you have debt, how can you put as much money as humanly possible towards the debt so that you can stop paying strangers your hardworking money and start putting your hardworking money for your future self, right? Put your money to work for the future, for you, for your family. And so we paid off $43,000 worth of debt in 13 months because we just went all in on this. That was the dangling carrot. It was like, wow, we don't want money to be an issue when we have kids, have a family. And I'm definitely not recommending, I'm not saying that you should be fully out of debt or something before you have kids, but like we just felt like that could be something that held us back, and we didn't want that at all. So we we went through a point of life where we said no to a lot of things, a lot of events, a lot of friends and family. And people thought we were weird because they're like, why do you care so much about paying off your debt? And now, you know, we have a mortgage, but we're debt free otherwise. And we're looking at the people that gave us shit like 6 years ago, 7 years ago, and they still have debt. They definitely still have debt. And we're just happily not in any consumer debt or anything like that. So as soon as we were able to pay that off, we used the snowball method, by the way. At the time, to be perfectly honest with you, like I wasn't even considering like making content around personal finance or anything like that. I didn't even, we didn't even know about like the different strategies. We just thought like, okay, we had 12 loans, 12, somewhere in her name, somewhere in my name, somewhere in both our names. It was kind of silly. Like, wow, 12. So we're like, okay, there's 4 of them that are under, I think it was like $1,200. There were 4 that were under $1,200. So we kind of used the snowball method without even really knowing what the snowball method is. But basically, we just paid off the smallest balances. We paid minimums on everything and pumped all the money towards the smallest one. And eventually, our snowball was pretty massive. And by the end, we were paying like over like I think it was maybe even $3,000 a month towards our debt. It was insane. And then once we paid that off, our son was going to be born soon. So we rolled money into a 529 education plan for him. We put a little down payment in there. And then after that was set up, we just started pumping money into our future, investing accounts and things like that. And I would credit like a 3 to 5 year period where all of this happened, where we were focused on paying off our debt, like getting rid of interest and compounding to other people and start making it work to us. That shift in that period of time, the sacrifices that we made, is how we were able to grow our net worth to where it is now. And we're closing in on like $500,000 in retirement. And, we're 37, I'm 37. So there's still a long way to go. And, the hardest part was getting to that first like $100,000 of, we'll call it saving/investing, because everyone loves the idea of compounding interest, but how it works is you just have to like literally wait. And so in the beginning, there's like barely no compounding. And then once it kind of crosses $100,000, like even the past like year, my wife and I's accounts, like our 401ks or other retirement accounts, are just like exploding because it's just like how it works. And I think I saw a chart where going from $0 to $100,000, depending on the math, right? But it's like, let's say it takes like 7.5 years to get to that first $100,000 in some cases. And then going from $900,000 to $1 million took like a year or something because of the compounding effect if you invest the same amount of money. Yeah, at the time we were just pumping that into, and we were in our starter home, and this is when the housing market was going nuts, like kind of during that pandemic period. And we bought our home for $269,000. And the market was telling us that our house was now worth $400,000 after like 4 years of owning the house, which is insane. It's like a 50% increase, just insane. And so we knew that this starter house we would kind of outgrow it pretty soon, because now we have 2 kids, and so definitely would have outgrown it. And we basically turned that house into the house that we have now, which is like our dream house. Honestly, it's crazy that we were able to get to this point so quickly. But because we sold the house, we pumped all that basically into the new house. We didn't have to use any of our like money, any of our current money to put a down payment on or anything like that. It just kind of the wins that we had from our first house was, we put 20% down to the current house, and our mortgage payment is now higher, but it's really just like 30%, a little higher than 30% of our take home pay. So we're pretty happy with that. It's something that we can handle, and we're still able to put money towards our kids' future education, our retirement, and everything like that. And obviously our second child came, our daughter, and we started funding her account, and now we have like $30,000 combined for both of them into their like education savings account. And who knows what the hell's going to happen in college. So our son is 5, our daughter's 2. So in 13 years, I have no idea what college is even going to look like. Like, who knows? But at the end of the day, I'd rather start something, even if the chances of it not happening are there. So like, it's not just traditional college, but it's like trade school, or really anything education based would qualify as you could take it out tax free. And so I'm assuming they'll want to be whatever field they decide to go in, whatever path they decide to take. Like education is always going to be the route. So even if we like lose out and we have to pay a fee to take it out, it's like I'd rather just put money into it, not knowing what the outcome would be, instead of like, because I hear people, this is like wild, but it's like people just make excuses as to why they're not investing or why they're not putting aside, money. And like you could easily just say like, oh, like, college is going to be free in 15 years. I hear this argument all the time. Like in-state is going to be 100% free, so there's no point in doing it. Or it's like, oh, I don't want to put money into the stock market because of inflation, and inflation is just going to eat away at this, and like the dollar is losing its value. And it's just like, these are all lame excuses as to why people don't invest and why people don't get started, because literally getting started is the hardest part, and then you just have to wait. So my advice here is just start. Where are you at currently in your personal finances? What's the challenge getting you from where you are to where you want to go? If you're not sure, there's a link below this video to book a call with me for my Wealthy Parent Program. And it's just a friendly 15-minute chat, see where you're at, see where you want to go. And I'll help you unlock the one thing keeping you stuck. And then from there, we can have a conversation if the Wealthy Parent Program is a good fit for you. And, if I think that I can help you. And if not, you guys can just check out this podcast here. It's a new podcast that I'm starting, the Wealthy Parent Pod. So you can check it out here on YouTube. And it's just a Q&A style where I'm walking through real parents' questions about their real money challenges. So I hope that you enjoy